Hi there! My plan for today is to explore the little known town of Tapolca in Hungary, about 10 kilometers north of the shore of Lake Balaton. I will try to find the top 10 places to see there, and of course will show them to you. So as you can see, the weather is pretty bad. That's why I'm not gonna take the bike today. I will take the train from Fővényes, where I'm based. This is the railway station of Fővényes, and to be honest, this is my very first domestic train ride in Hungary. Been coming here for about 30 years, I think, but never took a domestic train. So I'm a bit excited. I cannot buy a ticket here, and I also haven't been able to get one online, but I have been told that it's possible to buy a ticket in the train. By the way, these tracks here are part of the railway line that goes all around Lake Balaton. Finally arrived in Tapolca after 1 hour. Still raining. Just wondering if the railway station is also one of these 10 things to see, but probably not. So that's the railway station, and I have to say that I haven't been able to buy a ticket in the train. Just wondering which way I have to go. I think it's this way. So I wasn't able to buy a ticket, but then nobody was there to check the tickets. So check this out. Locomotive restaurant. Nice little park here. I think that's the way to get to the center. So I already bought a ticket at the railway station for my way back. It is 850 forint. That's quite cheap. About 2 euros for a 1 hour 30 kilometer train ride. It's not really fun to film while it's raining, but that's okay. I believe that this is the right way to get to the center. Four different hiking trail marks here, in 4 different colors. Pizzeria Ristorante. This is a place I actually know. It was one of the first places in this region where you could have quite a good pizza in the 1990s. So nowadays, of course, you can get a pizza everywhere, but at that time I remember that we used to drive, I don't know, 20-30 kilometers just to have a decent pizza here. So we're getting closer to the center, as it seems. I don't know, this seems to be a little Asian quarter here. Look at this. Reminds me a little bit of Hoi An in Vietnam, but I don't think it's the same kind of quality you get here. Just had a pizza, not because I was overly hungry, but because I somehow wanted to kill the time before it stops raining. I was not in the place I have shown before, but in this one, which is quite good but very touristy. And I didn't expect that many tourists here. It's probably because of the bad weather. And there were so many Germans, and that's probably because we have holidays in Germany, school holidays. So there were lots of families with children, and the reason why they are here is because of this place, which is the #1 attraction in this town. I'm not really gonna visit it because I've been here before, and you don't really see too much from the outside. This is the so-called Tavas Barlang, or lake cave. So what you do, you go in here, then you take a staircase about 10 meters, 12 meters down, and you get into this cave. So let's see if I can find any pictures here. Unfortunately, oh yeah, here we are. So this is what it looks like. It's a cave with water in it, and you can take a little boat and row around. So it's quite nice, especially with children, but it's not really something I have to see again. Just doesn't have this cave explorer vibe, because you go into this building here, then down the staircase, and well, for me personally it's not that great, but many people like it, and this is definitely the #1 attraction here in Tapolca. So this very ugly building right opposite of the cave is definitely not one of the attractions. What can we see here? So I think these are miners. Tapolca once was a mining city, so I think it was mainly bauxite mining. And yeah, this ugly building, by the way, is called the Culture Center or something like that. But what most people who come here don't recognize is that this culture center has been built around another building, which is, I think, more of an attraction. It is a synagogue. Unfortunately, it is no longer being used and it is not possible to go inside. This is definitely attraction number 2, the main street or main square with its historical buildings and some interestingly looking sculptures. And there is also a Trinity column, I think from the 18th century. I have to say that it looks quite a lot better when the weather is good. And right here from the central square, you just have to walk through this gate and get to attraction number 3, which is the mill lake or pond. And yeah, that's the pond. With some, not sure if you can see this, some huge carps in it. Not sure, maybe, can it be that these are koi? I don't know, not really sure. But this is a really beautiful place here around this lake or pond, and I think the building over there, that's the mill. The mill, which now seems to be a hotel. Yeah. So there is quite a difference in water levels between this part and this part, so it makes sense to have a mill in this location. This is also full of these giant carps. And this one is really huge. Must be 60 centimeters or more. So let's check out the lower pond. I find especially the white ones really fascinating. So this is interesting. I didn't know that, but when you look at this pond, the water doesn't come from a creek or a little river. It actually comes from a number of springs. I think when I go back I will have another look at these springs, so wondering whether you can see anything, any water coming out of the ground. Yeah, these fish are really fascinating. I don't think they are just plain old carps. They must be something like koi. but I'm not really sure. So I would say that the pond is attraction number 3 and the fish are an attraction on their own. That's number 4. This is approximately where these springs are supposed to be, but I cannot see anything. See? Maybe here? Oh yeah. Not sure if you can see this, but there are some bubbles coming out, and you can also see that the sand on the ground is moving. So this is definitely one of these springs. Nice car. And I think here we're getting to attraction number, I think it's number 5 by now. There is the church, a historical museum, and some historical ruins. I think I'm talking nonsense once again. Are there any ruins which are not historical? But anyway, okay. Not really sure from what time these are. Looks like some remain from the town wall. Maybe, or maybe this is a part of the ancient church, which has been built in the Middle Ages and later has been replaced with this Baroque church you can see over there, and where I'm trying to go in a moment. But first let's have a look at these ruins. Maybe I can find some information about it. Okay, so there is even something in English. The remainder of the flanking tower of Square 1A built to defend the main gate of castle, and it's from the 15th to the 17th century. You can see the pond down there. There are really lots of ruins, and I just read that this once was a castle, the castle of Tapolca, in the late Middle Ages. So let's see if I can go inside this church. So let's say these were attractions number 6 and 7, I think, or was it 5 and 6? Not really sure. So let's say 5 is the church and 6 the ruins from the Tapolca castle. I just noticed that I don't have that much time left, and until my train goes back. This is also an interesting historical building, so I might get into trouble finding 10 attractions. So Let's go back to the main street, and then I will try to find the most controversial attraction in this town, of which many people say that it isn't even an attraction or anything like that. Another look at the pond, and let's call this attraction number 8. All these historical buildings. Guest house. And here we can see attraction number 9, of which I said it's a little bit controversial. These are the Y-shaped houses, or Ypsilon houses. So far I've only seen them from kind of far away, and I have heard very different opinions on these. So this is not the only one. There are, I think, 9 of them. They have been built in the between, I think, 1972 and the mid-80s. And it looks like this must be one of the older ones, and these over there look a little bit newer. So let's go here. So I have heard very different opinions. Anything between absolutely terrible and really a great place to live here. Well, it is definitely not my kind of taste. Typical 70s, 80s construction. It has been built mainly for these bauxite miners, and you know, way back in the 70s, the people had the idea to build these large blocks. Some call them commie blocks. Of course, this was socialist time in Hungary, but you find this style of building in Western Europe as well. So large houses with apartments and lots of green parks around them. That was the idea. That was what the city planners thought would be a great and efficient way to accommodate people. Not sure. So nowadays I think almost everyone would prefer to live in smaller buildings, or maybe even have a house on his own. But it's of course also a matter of money. At least somehow I find it fascinating. And I don't know what you think, but these Y shapes make the whole thing look a little bit better, or I don't know, less industrial than the standard square or rectangle shaped blocks, apartment blocks. Okay, here's another park with some, I don't know, this looks like some miniature version of Stonehenge or something. Not sure what the meaning is, but I have seen similar sculptures here in Hungary as well. So let's see if there is any information about this place. Doesn't look like that. But I think if you live here, you know probably what it means. I would actually like to go inside one of these buildings here. So many of these are obviously not in the best conditions. Okay, let's walk back to the railway station. Starts raining once again, and yeah, this is attraction number 9, and you might ask what is attraction number 10, and I would say that's the surroundings of the town, which is really spectacular, with some hills, castles. So this is really in a really bad state. Okay, so this guy was honking because he probably is of the opinion that there is nothing to film here, and yeah, that's what I was actually. But it's something of which I'm not really surprised. So unfortunately, in most of the really interesting places, people don't want you to film because they think it's not a good thing to live here, which is, yeah, when you look at this, it is actually true. So these are really in a very bad conditions, and yeah. But anyway, it's definitely interesting. I have to say that these 3 hours I had for exploring this town were way too short. I could have spent much more time, and I wasn't really able to explore the parts which are, say, off the beaten path. And I'm on my way back to the railway station, and yeah, all of the way I've been thinking once again about whether it's okay to show the less beautiful things as well, or if you should rather select only the nice and beautiful things. You know, after this guy in this Ypsilon house, Y-shaped house, water was honking at me, and he also showed me the finger. Yeah, I have thought about this question once again, and I also discuss this quite often with people I know. My wife, for example, always criticizes me when I do things like that, but I think that's what I want to do. I think it's absolutely essential to show these things that not everybody might like as well. Otherwise, when you look at media, you get a completely wrong impression of the world. I have to say that these Y-shaped houses were much more shabby than I thought. Didn't actually expect that, but still, even these things have some kind of aesthetics, at least for me. And yeah, for me the criterion is not whether something is beautiful or not. It is mostly whether it's interesting or not. Unfortunately, this guy who didn't like what I'm doing, you normally never have any chance to explain this to these people. So that's a shame. So when I am filming in places like that, I always try to avoid people, which is of course not always possible. Yeah. Interesting graveyard here, quite large. By the way, this town has 16,000 inhabitants, roughly. Close to the railway station. My train will leave in about 10 minutes. So that's it from Tapolca. Hope to see you next time, and bye bye.